And it's Ken Kraetzer for Sons of American Legion Radio. We're at the United States Military Academy. It's Projects Day, where the seniors, over 400 projects they've been working on, are presented to fellow cadets and many guests here today. Some civilian colleges like the University of Arizona, Cornell, George Mason, Rensselaer are also presenting projects today, and we had a chance to visit with some of the projects in the computer sciences department and talk to some of the cadets. This is Ken Kraetzer for Sons of American Legion Radio, rallypoint.com. We're at the United States Military Academy. It's Project Day. The seniors and many of the students get a chance to demonstrate innovation, and we're going to hear about an intelligent ground vehicle competition entry from 5 seniors here. And first, I'm just going to ask them all to introduce themselves. So, would you introduce yourself? Where are you from?
My name is Brian Nagori. I'm from Pittman, New Jersey.
And what's your major here at West Point?
I'm a systems engineer.
Great. What part of the Army are you going to?
Air Defense.
And let me ask this cadet again, if you could introduce yourself, where you're from?
Cadet William Bourne. I'm from Queen Creek, Arizona.
Very good. What's your major here? What part of the Army are you going to?
I'm an electrical engineer, and I'm going to Fort Gordon for Army Cyber.
That's great. And ma'am, we've got, tell us where are you from? If you could introduce yourself, where you're from?
I'm Taylor Sharpson. I'm from North Carolina.
Very good. Now, what's your major here at West Point?
I'm an electrical engineer.
Wow. And what part of the Army are you going to?
So, medical service officer, and I'll go down to Fort Hood.
Very good. I got to ask you, what's your gold star for?
I'm in the top 10% of the class, sir.
Very good. Congratulations. And ma'am, tell us if you could introduce yourself and where you're from.
My name's Tiana Johnson. I'm from Tampa, Florida.
Very good. Now, what have you been studying here at West Point?
I'm a computer science major with a minor in cybersecurity.
That's great. And what part of the Army are you going to?
I'm branching cyber and also going to Fort Gordon.
Great. What an important part of the military's future you're heading to. And Cadet Ellis, if you can tell us, introduce yourself, where you're from.
So my name's Jared Ells. I'm from right outside Detroit, Michigan. I'm an engineering management major here, and I'll be going to the Army Aviation branch.
Hey, that's great. Now, I understand you're going to be the spokesperson for us on telling us about the project. Why don't you move over in front of your contraption here and tell us what it's all about?
Yes, sir. So the competition, the Intelligent Ground Vehicle competition, is hosted by TARDEC at Oakland University in Michigan every year. It's a robotics competition where teams from across the nation at different universities build robots similar size to this one to autonomously navigate an obstacle course. They have to stay within white lines of the obstacle course. They have to autonomously avoid and detect obstacles and then navigate their way through a GPS segment of the actual competition. And try to get the farthest that they can or complete the course in the least amount of time. So a recent addition to the competition this year is an incline portion where we have to go, the robot itself has to go up an incline, avoid obstacles at the top, and then go back down. So we'll be competing there after graduation, which is on May 25th. We'll be staying here for another week to work on this project and then driving out to Michigan for the actual competition in June. So just to give you a little overview of the actual robot itself. So in the back here is our control box. So we've integrated a lot of different systems for computing. It has a few single board computers, a GPU hooked up to one of the Latte Panda single board computers, and a switch to interface those computers with the different components on the robot itself. On the front here is a SICK LiDAR, a laser rangefinder used to detect obstacles in front of the robot with a 270-degree viewing angle. That'll help us detect the obstacles on the course and make sure that we can navigate those without getting ourselves disqualified by hitting any of the obstacles on the course. Moving up, we have the FLIR camera. The camera is used to detect the lines of the actual course, and using the Huff transformation, we are transforming the image that the camera sees into an entirely black and white image that has lines or just all black. So any edges in the picture itself will appear as white lines, and everything else will appear as black. So the computers can integrate with that and make decisions on how to avoid those lines in the actual course itself. And then this big module in the center of the robot itself is the CNS 5000 GPS unit. So the receiver is up top, and it will be subscribing to the TerraStar correction service for sub-meter accuracy. Another portion of the competition is getting to the GPS waypoints within a meter. And we're integrating all of these components on the robot itself using the control box and the components on the inside to do all of our computations and navigational calculations to get the robot along the competition. So we're looking good for the competition this year and very excited to see where it takes us.
Well, it sounds like very innovative. What would you say you learned by doing this project? It sounds like you got a lot built into this. What did you learn by doing the project?
So coming from a non-technical background in the EECS world, as an engineering management major, I haven't had a lot of robotics experience. So first of all, just learning how the different systems work with the robots, doing different programming and coding with the robot itself. That's been an initial hurdle that we've had to work through. But another thing with the robot itself that we've had to work through and solve different problems is working with the motor and the power systems of the robot itself. So getting the actual obstacle avoidance and detection systems to work hasn't been as big of a problem, but getting the actual power of the robot to cooperate with us has been our biggest issue. So working with the batteries themselves to power just the base, we've had to add an additional LiPo battery to power the computing processes by itself.
Believe me, I know about how hard it is to keep batteries live when you're doing longer events. Hey, Cadet, thank you very much. Very impressive, and your whole team, and best wishes and congratulations on graduation. I know you're all counting the days down. It's less than a month.
Yes, sir. We're very excited. Thank you very much.
Our pleasure. This is Ken Kraetzer for Sons of American Legion Radio, RallyPoint.com at West Point. And it's Ken Kraetzer for Sons of American Legion Radio. We're at the United States Military Academy for Projects Day, a chance for the seniors and many of the cadets to demonstrate innovation in amazing projects. And we have a group that's been working on the commemoration of D-Day. And we're going to ask each of the cadets to introduce themselves on this project team. How you doing? What's your name? Where are you from?
I'm Cadet Shorky Chacon. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland.
Great. Now, what do you study here? What part of the Army are you going to?
I'm a computer science major. I'm going to be a field artillery officer in the 82nd Airborne Division.
That's great. Just out at Fort Sill in September with the football team. Great place. And Cadet, tell us a little bit where are you from and introduce yourself.
Ethan Stankiewicz from Montrose, Pennsylvania. So I'm going armor and heading to Fort Riley, Kansas for the first ID. So.
Hey, that's great. Good to see you. And Cadet, if you could introduce yourself where you're from.
I'm Bradley Harrison. I'm from Houston, Texas, and I'm going to be a field artillery officer as well.
That's great. My dad was a field artillery officer in World War II. Great choice. And Cadet, tell us if you could introduce yourself, please.
Yes, sir. Lorenzo Lachey from Niles, Michigan, going armor, 3rd ID, 10th Mountain.
That's great. And what part of the country did you say you're from?
Niles, Michigan, sir.
That's great. Good to see you. And Cadet, tell if you could introduce yourself and where you're from.
I'm Cadet James Gamar from Oakton, Virginia. I'm commissioning as a field artillery officer and going to the 82nd Airborne Division.
That's great. Now, I understand you're going to be the spokesperson for the team? Okay. If you could, tell us a little bit about your project commemorating the 75th anniversary of D-Day.
All right, let's jump right in. So, basically, the app curtails the events of Omaha Beach and the brave soldiers that were in place in that area during that time. And we have 72 pages of historical content on an easy-to-use user interface, if you can see on the screen right here. It just goes through all the little stories. It goes through Lieutenant Spaulding's story. It goes through the events on, the actions on, the tactics. We got 72 pages or 78 pages of historical content that allows the user to spend about, if they wanted to, 5 hours reading this. But the real question is, how do you keep the user engaged? So the way that we did this, utilizing our IT and CS majors, is by implementing 3D technology and using augmented reality to implement these 3D objects into the application, into the text, using plane detection. So all you do is move the application over a flat surface, any flat surface. It's not constrained to anything. You can use this on a beach, you can use it on your lap, you can use it in your hand, and you just tap one time on the screen. And as you can see, an MG42 automatic machine gun has appeared, and it's physically anchored to one spot. Wherever you tap, it's physically anchored there. And all you have to, in order to explore it, you have to get up physically and engage it. So the purpose of this app is to get these history students, these Millard students, off their feet and get the blood flowing and provide an enriched historical experience, really, that we think captivates the audience and is going to keep them coming back for more. So we got 7 or 8 historical or 3D models. As you can see here, we have a log ramp, a hedgehog, an LCVP, USS Emmons bar, tanks, and so if you give this to a kid, like obviously they're going to go to the 3D models, but at least they're going to be learning something. And that's the overall purpose of this, to provide imagination, to entice users, and just kind of provide that historical experience that really sums up the integrity of this project. And I think we did a really good job summarizing it.
Very good. Now, is this app available to the public?
Yes, it is. It's on the App Store.
And what is the name?
Omaha Beach AR.
Omaha Beach AR, we'll look at it. Our national commander, Greg Gibbs, has gone to the D-Day commemoration representing our organization, and I will send this to him, and I'm sure he will enjoy reading through this. One of our colleagues, John Tran's father, landed at Omaha Beach in the early hours with a Signal Corps, and so many Americans did, and tragically with heavy casualties, but they secured Omaha Beach and the entry to France and the freedom of Western Europe. It's so important. So what'd you learn by doing the project?
Everything, really. To be honest, it's the most interdisciplinary project I've ever been a part of, and also the most challenging. On our project team, we have 2 history majors, 2 computer science majors, 2 IT majors, and 1 project manager who's a systems major. And in our combined effort, across these cross branches, we had the history majors working in the computer science areas, while we had our computer scientists working in the history area. We had computer science, because obviously we have the computer scientists implementing these 3D objects, but they're implementing parts of U.S. history, U.S. artifacts, while the history majors are also giving us the content. They have to work in these user interfaces like Xcode, like Figma, like Swift, and using ARKit, we were able to summarize everything and really just bring forward a great product.
Very good. I see another cadet just joined the group. If you could introduce yourself.
Oh, how's it going? I'm Cadet Levi Grant. As you mentioned, we're an interdisciplinary team, and I'm the one of the history majors on the team.
That's great. Now, where are you from? And it looks like you've been in the Army.
Yes, I was in the Army before coming to West Point for about 4 years. I'm from a small town in Minnesota, but
what's the town?
Delano, Minnesota. I spent the first 18 years of my life there, and then joined the Army, spent a little bit of time in Georgia and Texas, and now I'm here. But I head back to Georgia pretty soon.
Well, thank you for your service. What did you learn by being involved with this project?
So one thing I really learned was about how difficult but rewarding interdisciplinary projects can be, and that as a history major, I want to tell stories, and I want to really get to the heart of the issue. Specifically with D-Day, it's such a compelling story, especially Omaha Beach. It's a story of, those individuals, those young leaders, those young soldiers, ultimately triumphing over Murphy's Law at every turn, right? Just everything goes wrong, but they still make it happen. But it's hard to tell that story with just words. It's hard to tell that story with me just writing down content on a piece of paper and submitting it for somebody to read, because the only people that are going to read that are the people who are already interested in it. This is an excellent opportunity to share these awesome stories of people doing amazing things and really securing the freedom of people that were under the boot of Nazi tyranny, right, for so long, right, through a more interactive, engaging experience. And that's really what that I learned, is that I can't tell those stories without the help of other people, and to really tell that story, I needed everybody here, and that was both humbling and just a great experience.
Well, thank you for your service. It's always great when we see soldiers coming in from the Army to West Point, and a lot of my friends who were Vietnam veterans call you a Mustang with tremendous respect. Good to see you. And team, just want to thank you again. Thank you for explaining this very important D-Day app, and we will promote it. And good job. Great to see you. This is Ken Kraetzer for Sons of the American Legion Radio at the United States Military Academy. This is Ken Kraetzer for Sons of the American Legion Radio. We're at the United States Military Academy for Project Day, and we've got an interesting demonstration. It's another Army versus Navy competition. We hear about how the Army is preparing some innovation for soldiers, what they can take out on their missions. And let's have each of the 3 team members introduce themselves. First, we start with our senior.
I'm Cadet Gordon. From Orlando, Florida.
Great. And what do you study here at West Point, and what are you going to do in the Army?
I'm an information technology major here at West Point. I'll be graduating here in the next 24 days, and then I'll be a cyber officer after that.
That's great. And now we've got our cadet here. If you would introduce yourself, where you're from.
Hi, sir. I'm Cadet Cade Mashburn from Edmond, Oklahoma. I'm a space science major, and I'll be graduating in 2 years and hopefully branching infantry.
Space science major. That's terrific. I was just out in Oklahoma with a football team. Had a pretty good trip out there, and we got a chance to visit Fort Sill. Good to meet you. And, sir, if you would introduce yourself, your name and where you're from.
Hi, sir. I'm Cadet Companion. I'm from Ocala, Florida. I'm a pre-med major. I'll be graduating in 2 years, hopefully, and either going to med school or aviation, whichever one comes first.
Hey, with us, you can say your first name. It's okay.
Oh, all right. Cadet Ryan Companion.
Hey, that's great. Good to see you all three. Now, we'll let Cadet Gordon introduce and explain the special equipment the cadets are demonstrating today.
Right, sir. So this is happening in the context of what's called the SWAT-C project, or the SWAT-C competition, which is Squad with Autonomous Teammates Challenge. And so we were working with the Office of Naval Research to see how we might be able to develop additional capabilities and functionality for a ground infantry unit. So I had the opportunity to work with these two gentlemen as a part of that project. We looked at a variety of approaches and ways that we might be able to address this issue or provide additional functionality to those units. And so some of the things that we had the opportunity to work on and use out there, we have on display here. So I'd like to pull in Cadet Mashburn here. So Cadet Mashburn was one of our units, or one of our troops that we had on the ground, and he has displayed here the ATAC system, which is the Android Tactical Assault Kit. We were able to take our ground sensors and have them be integrated with this technology in order to provide our units with an advantage. In the Army-Navy competition, which was an airsoft capture the flag type competition, we tied in the very first iteration, and for the following 5 iterations, Army had wins in every single one. And it was because we had the ability to integrate the technology that we were working with to the infantry squad here. So Cade will talk more about the technology that he has here.
For sure. So hi, sir. So what you can see here, I don't know if your folks can see it on your camera, is we have a a motion sensor camera that's hooked up to this television right here. And as you can see, it's displayed on our phone system. And what we would do is, in a defensive situation, we would deploy multiple of these defensive sensors. And then if it sensed motion, it would come up on this phone system here, and we'd be able to see exactly where the enemy is, and we'd be able to go out and engage them before they could harm our troops. And then also, what we have here is a GPS overlay for our phone. And what this does is it gives us real-time GPS location of several of our objectives and all of our troops in the area. So what this does is, if we're moving along a route and we come into contact, we're able to pinpoint the exact enemy location and then broadcast that out in live time to all of our other troops that also have this system.
Very good. Now let's ask our second cadet who's demonstrating a little bit about the equipment you've got. It looked really neat when you showed it to me.
So I have the PD-100 attached to me. It's a small UAV drone that has a thermal camera attached to it, and I'm able to control it right here along to this panel. I have 2 of them, and I can send one out, and it can go out stealthily and conduct a recon of the area that we're mapping, and then come back to me so that I can have all the information about the objective, what kind of weapons they're having, how many bodies are around the objective, all the useful information that is needed for me to conduct my mission properly, I can have. And the good thing about this project is they're working to integrate whatever I'm seeing so that he can see it onto his ATACs. So I can communicate not only what I need, but also to what the squad needs and to what the commanders are using to make better judgment plans on how to assault the objectives.
So important to be able to communicate the findings and the situation that you've got to your teammates in your unit, and also to your command, I'm sure. Thank you very much. And Cadet Gordon, maybe you could just tell us, what did you learn by leading this team, developing these very innovative uses of digital technology?
Absolutely. I think the biggest benefit, the biggest lesson that I've learned is in how to get a team of people with very diverse backgrounds to all work together. The engineers that were focusing on this primarily came from multiple different majors. We had a couple people from the systems engineering department working with us. We had a couple IT majors, 2 more computer science majors and 2 more electrical engineering majors. So just working across all of those disciplines and then being able to think about how to practically implement a lot of the things that we had already learned in our various classes and whatnot was, I think, just a really beneficial experience for me. I feel like I learned a lot.
Very good. Well, thank you all three on the project team. Another Army-Navy competition, and it looks very, very innovative, very important. Great use of digital technology and equipment to help our soldiers in the field do their job and be safe. So from Project Safe for Sons of the American Legion Radio, RallyPoint.com, this is Ken Kraetzer.